We had like some people waiting in the chat. That's so good. Hi, everyone. How is everyone's weekend going? Hopefully well. Mine's been going really well. Just doing a lot of research things. Kind of exciting because we are currently prepping up for the huge decision in the Margiela series that I've been trying to make since the series started. What's up, everybody? Hey, Kill's here, Isaac's here. What's up, Isaac? Kellen's here. Jacob, Nikita the God. What's up, Hugo? What's up, Sam? Rasmus, Maja, Mariana, Fernando, Sonali, Numa, Titus. Sweet, sweet waffle cones. What's up, Saib? Fithal, what's up? Julian, Iskander, Ryan, what's up, Duke? Dang, we got like the whole crew in here. Ah, perfect timing because Kill just put on a face mask. That's excellent. What's up, David? Hi, everybody. Okay, cool. Lane's here. What's up, Lane? Howdy, everyone. Hope you're all having an excellent weekend. So, my weekend has been very, very eventful because I've been planning for the biggest, one of the bigger decisions about the Margiela series since the series started, which is how I'm actually going to handle his work at Hermes. So the whole like nature of the Margiela series is that we're trying to be as thorough and exhaustive as possible about Martin's work. And obviously a big part of Martin's work was his work at Hermes. That was 6 years, 12 seasons, and I've kind of wondered, like, am I just gonna do like individual episodes for it in chronological order, the way that I've been doing with the Margiela series? Am I gonna skip it? Am I going to like do a, yeah. So that decision has been weighing on my mind, and now that I've actually started into the really big like research segment of that time, I think what I've decided, and you know, we're not putting anything in stone here, but the place that that's currently sitting at is that we're going to do kind of a mini doc. It's going to be a super long single video that covers Martin's entire work at Hermes. The nature of his work there is very different. His whole approach at Hermes was very different than his approach at his own house, in that he wasn't trying to do a bombastic new concept for every single season. If you look at the individual Margiela episodes, I don't know if everybody here has watched that or is really into it. I know at least a few of you I've talked to, and I know that some of y'all are really into it. But it's almost kind of a shame to talk about Martin's work in like a best of kind of thing, like where like a lot of the content around Margiela, it tends to be like, here's his like 20 most iconic pieces or whatever. But after seeing the film in his own words, a big emphasis that the director of that film put is that he was like, when I was speaking with Martin and I was, you know, at his studio and being like, guide me around, like show me all the stuff, like we have weeks. He just sat with him for weeks and listened to him talk, and he was like, the biggest thing that I noticed with Martin is that there is no best of with Martin. Everything that the house put out, Martin considers to be incredibly significant. And even if you try to get him to like narrow things down and like, it's like, oh, well, tell me like what like the best thing from that season was or whatever, he doesn't even think about it in that way. So it would be a shame for the Margiela series to do that in some kind of like single big video, or like, you know, here's like the first like 5 years summarized, or here's like the first like decade summarized or whatever. That kind of stuff to me does not feel like it does justice to the work. However, Martin's work at Hermes was very different from that, because his goal was to create a single wardrobe for women that is very different than any wardrobe offerings that were coming out at the time. His goal was like, from season to season, we are releasing more things that kind of protect that that sort of continue this singular vision for a woman, the Hermes woman's wardrobe. And by the time he had left, I'm actually not totally clear yet about like the circumstances of him leaving. But those 12 collections can very easily, from my perspective right now, those 12 collections can be looked at as a single project. And so I think that sort of dictates that we're going to take one video and it'll be as long as it needs to be. And we're going to really dive in and kind of understand what that wardrobe project he was doing was. And we're incredibly blessed because the resources around his time at Hermes are thorough. They're like really, really thorough. A lot of his other stuff, I mean, y'all have probably watched at least parts of the Margiela series. And for a lot of that, it's like you kind of are on your own. And I don't have access to the Margiela archives, unfortunately, yet. I don't want to jinx that. But without that, it's kind of up to the viewer to, like me in a lot of cases, to really look through those collections and to figure out what was actually going on with those. Whereas with Hermes, we have a lot of resources and the ability to go in and actually like learn about that firsthand. So I'm really excited about it. And this research period for this has been incredibly fun. Hey, Kill watched the entire 4-hour mega video. Yeah, a lot of y'all had been saying that that was something that you wanted to like throw on for large sewing projects and for like, you know, a lot of people go to sleep to YouTube videos. I go to sleep to YouTube videos. And so I tried to throw together a big one there that is the first 15 episodes. And one episode, of course, is missing. That's Fall Winter 1993, because that one is a Patreon exclusive. So if anybody does want to sign up for that Patreon and get the actual full analysis of the Margiela seasons as they go, patreon.com/BlissFoster. It is well worth it. You get to watch back all the live streams. You get a lot of exclusive content. We have like an exclusive episode about Sakai. We have an exclusive episode about Undercover. We have an exclusive we have an exclusive Margiela series episode. And of course, you get to join the greatest fashion community of all time on the Discord server. And I know a bunch of people here, like Kill's on it, Nikita's on it. I know a bunch of y'all are. But yeah, there's a lot of, yeah, Rasmus is on there. Rasmus is definitely on there. But yeah, I try to keep the cost for that as low as I can. This is, of course, my job, and it's how I pay for things and stuff. And YouTube used to be this fantastical place, apparently, before I got onto it. YouTube apparently used to be this wonderful place where people were just like bringing down millions of dollars with the ad money, and then the adpocalypse happened, and that doesn't really happen anymore. So yeah, if you like the channel, you want to support it and get a bunch of exclusive stuff, including access to the best fashion community that I've ever been a part of, then join the motherfucking Patreon. Okay, let's, oh yeah, Elizabeth's on there too, aren't you? What's up, Elizabeth? All right. Blade X. Oh yeah, Shorin's here. What's up, Shorin? Me and Shorin talk a lot. He's a cool guy, very stylish guy. Shorin's wardrobe has really been showing up lately. What's up, dude? Blade asked a really good question. What's the best place to buy fashion books? Well, so the fashion book that we're going through today is the Cream Margiela book. It's about 600 pages. There is no good place to buy this one. Someone actually lent this to me. They were really kind and allowed me to borrow this from them. This is the most prohibitively expensive Margiela book outside of the stuff that like only sells through Sotheby's and stuff. Sotheby's gets things like the original catalogs that they were buying or that they were putting out with each individual show. The things that were sent out to buyers and stuff that had all of the looks listed individually. And that's what a lot of this goes for. Let me see if I can find a good example page of that. This is going to be a bit of a different look at this book because we are not going to open this very widely because we're going to try to protect my friend's property. So stuff like this is what was in a lot of the original catalogs where it's like look by look and they sort of explain what the look is. A lot of this is in French. And those original catalogs, like Kanye famously bought up a bunch of those catalogs all at once and posted a bunch of them to his Instagram and then deleted all of them. It was really weird. It's like the only thing that Kanye's ever posted on his Instagram was a weird picture of like some architecture and then a bunch of Margiela pictures, and then he deleted everything, which is hilarious. But yeah, we're gonna look through this book. This is the most expensive Margiela book that you can get your hands on without going to a place like Sotheby's. So yeah, that's what we're gonna go through. The guy that lent this to me somehow found this at a used bookstore in France for 10 euros. So, I mean, the versions of this that sell for like $400 and $500 are in mint condition, a lot of them. And the one that he found, he was like, just so you know, Bliss, this is not like mint condition or anything. It's a little bit gunked up. The spine is a little bit used, and like the box that it's supposed to come in is kind of yellowed and stuff. And I was like, I don't care about any of that at all. So I like paid him for the shipping and tipped him a little bit. And yeah, he sent it out to me, which is very, very sweet. So yeah, we're gonna look through it. But to answer your question, Blade, the best place to buy fashion books is just kind of everywhere. I have an okay collection of fashion books, and it's mostly just not, I mean, same philosophy that I have with clothes, really, where it's like, you need to not have it in your mind that it's like, I have to get this one book, I have to find it. Just keep an open mind. I mean, I feel like most of the people who watch this channel have very diverse fashion interests. And so the idea of getting your heart set on your grail book is gonna usually be frustrating and disappointing. But if you can just keep an open mind and say like, wow, this like one Comme des Garçons book that I've never seen before is 30 bucks. I'm totally gonna get that. That's the way that you should do it. You know, a lot of people out there really like to support new Rick books when they come out and stuff, and that's great. Like, I mean, the only way that we're gonna get cool new fashion books made is if fashion books that are currently for sale actually sell out. But the used book scene is pretty strong for fashion stuff. And if you live in a really good city, here's a cool little tip. If you live in a good city for fashion, or you live in a city where there's a really prominent art school, then you can usually go to used bookstores and find something interesting. Again, it's just, it's sort of like thrifting in general, where it's like, you just need to not have like your heart set on one specific thing. You just need to keep an open mind and be able to look through, instead of trying to go for something that's like super specific. So, okay. So, if y'all would like, we're gonna go ahead and start. Whoop. Let's see if I can lock this real quick. There we go. I just had to lock my orientation. Okay, so let's get this set up over here. Zoop. Sorry about the shakiness. My bad. Whoop. And it's gonna be really shaky when a train comes by. I've noticed that. Hey, yes, Sherry just asked if I bought the reprint of the A magazine curated by Martin Margiela, and I have. Yeah, it was, I mean, it's still for sale, y'all. It's like $35 or something, and it is an exact reprint. Even the advertisements that were included in that magazine, those advertisements have been like recreated exactly. It's incredible. I'm really excited to have that book. I encourage everybody to go buy that. We're actually not going to cover that in the live stream because I really want y'all to go support it. Seriously, especially if you live in the EU, like the shipping is nothing. Go buy the fucking book. It's so good. It's for anybody who's not aware of what this is, there is a magazine that is called, the name of the magazine itself is A Magazine Curated By. That's the title of the magazine. A lot of people shorten that to A Magazine. And what they do is every issue, they just give the magazine over to a different designer, and they say like, the magazine is yours. Whatever you want to put in here, put anything in. And very famously, the first issue that they ever did of this, they gave it over to Maison Martin Margiela, and it's incredible. They used it for a lot of really cool things. They included some curated advertisements for other brands even that were beautiful, and yeah, there's cool stuff. Alessandra McKelly has done one. Who else has done one? I think Marina Yee has done one. I think, dang, I'm like drawing a blank now. Tom Ford, I believe, has done one. There's like a whole list. There's like 36 issues of this out, but that magazine is one of the best concepts for a fashion magazine that I have ever come across. It's outstanding. But again, the reprint it's $35. Like you should, that's for, especially for brand new fashion books, that is a absurdly low price. And the originals for this, I mean, go for, I actually haven't even seen one that's been for sale, but hundreds of dollars at a minimum. I'm sure when they first got released, they were standard magazine price. They were like maybe $40. Standard fashion magazine price. Standard magazine price only for specialty fashion magazines. Because can you imagine if like People magazine came out and they were like, yep, $40, 40 USD, baby. But yeah, anyway. Go buy that and go join the motherfucking Patreon at patreon.com/blissfoster. Thank you. Okay, let's do this. So, again, we have to be extremely cautious with this book. One really unique thing about this. Oh, let's see if we can get the cover here. So can y'all see it? The cover there. So we got the numbering system, then Maison Martin, Margiela, Paris. And then on the back, oh, my phone is reminding me that it's time to meditate. It is time to meditate, but maybe not on a live stream. Maison Martin, Margiela, let's see if we can get all the words here. Edition 2008, issue 9, I'm going to have to read this myself instead of through my screen. A brand new reading experience for every season starts from here. This is by Silly Thing Books. And then at the bottom, it's like a care tag. Storage method. Please store on your favorite bookshelf away from oblivion and dust. Look at that. Isn't that incredible? Like the greatest care tag on earth. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we open up this thing. Again, sorry, the viewing experience for this is going to be fairly limited because we got to make sure to keep this fairly closed. So, true to form with Margiela, we have a lot of blank pages. And the idea here that Cream had was that you're kind of customizing this little thing. Of course, I will not be doing that, as this does not belong to me. And I know that at some point we're going to hit the editorial looks. Isn't it cool? Like for something like this, like oh, and then the pages are left blank so that you can customize. That would be a very corny concept if like Martin had not already done so much conceptual heavy lifting to back up something like that. Otherwise, this would be maybe kind of a weak idea. So there we go. That's sort of the official start of the book, whereas the rest of this is all blank. And then, shoop. Cream, Maison Martin Margiela edition 2008, issue 9. Then, oh, cover design, Maison Martin Margiela. Cool. All right, so, oh, Cream. Okay, so the Cream publication, this is, yeah, founder, consultant, publisher, editor-in-chief, blah, blah, blah. And then just general contact information. I'm looking for special little like Easter eggs. There does not seem to be any on that page. Okay, so we got. Sorry, I know it's rough seeing it. Let's see. So we have an interview. Oh, cool. So it's divided up in a very specific way. And also, I love how they give page numbers, but there are not page numbers inside this book. It's like, this is on this page. And it's like, how the fuck am I going to find that in a 600-page book? Let's see. Okay, so that's a breakdown of the different lines. Hey, did everybody know? Because I actually just learned this, that collection 1, when the 1 is circled, that is the totally white label. A lot of times it's the totally white label. And that even to this day in the line 1 releases, it is just still to this completely white label. Let's read the letter from the editor. Quote, "The past is an endless source of compelling ideas and creativity," end quote. When we asked Maison Martin Margiela if they ever consider the past as a burden, they gave us this answer, and I was intrigued by it. Every season, we often hear the fashion editors cry out, "The 60s are back," or "Let's embrace the hippie revival." We see an illusion in which fashion is simply about reliving a glorious moment from the past, and one will start to agree The past is indeed very important. Meza Martin Margiela also thinks the past is important, but their belief is a quite different one. Here's how they further explained. Quote, "The traces of the passage of time help us to continue to build while remembering that often it is better to replace than to simply add. We also use our archive on a constant basis, yet not as a milestone, but more a diary, a journal, a moment in time that may be returned to bring forward in all of its pertinence to today and tomorrow." Ever since the year 1989, Meza Martin Margiela has been striving to hold on to this very belief that fashion should be seen as an ongoing creative process. And this involves seeking inspirations from the past and then transforming them into new creation and not just merely a reproduction of some bygone moments. To celebrate these 20 years, which has also been, as they put it, a quick moment of passion, creativity, tenacity, and freedom, Cream decides to delve into their archive and turn this issue into a visual diary of their past, the one that has been an endless source of compelling ideas and creativity for Meza Martin Margiela. From the editor-in-chief, Irene Leung. Beautiful. That's a copy of that in Chinese. Okay, so we're not going to read literally everything as we go, but I figure first couple of things, we're going to start it off like this. So 1, the collection for women. The original and primary collection of women's pret-a-porter by Meza Martin Margiela debuted for spring-summer 1989. This collection has traditionally been the subject of the Maison's fashion shows and exhibition work. Whereas the labels of all other Meza Martin Margiela lines have a label in which the numbers 0 to 23 are printed, this collection today still carries the original Meza Martin Margiela entirely blank white label. The 4 white stitches that attach the label are visible in the exterior of unlined garments. Okay. 4, a wardrobe for women. The Meza Martin Margiela first began its collection for women in spring-summer 1989. 4 is the vision of Meza Martin Margiela on a wardrobe for women. Sorry, folks. 4 is the vision of Margiela on a wardrobe for women, the 4th label of women's clothes. It was first introduced for spring-summer 2004. 4 complements I, the house's collection of women's ready-to-wear garments. The garments of 4 evoke timelessness. Its foundation is that of personal approach to dressing, fixed on a taste rather than a seasonal approach to a designer or particular age group. A selection contrasting men's masculine and uniquely feminine garments, its sensibility bridges that of traditional sartorial and structured clothing with that of the more feminine and fluid. Extra care and craft have been attributed to construction, fit, the choice of fabrics, hand finishing, and the perfection of the interior and exterior detailing of all of its garments. Replica, I'm going to skip because we all, I think, are pretty familiar with Replica, and if you are not, you should go watch the Margiela series. Yeah, here we go. Spring Summer 2000, one of the greatest shows of all time. The massive sunglasses. Can y'all hear the bird outside? Yeah, when it's this many assets, just compiling this stuff is a pretty massive task. This is a pretty excellent idea for a publication. I kind of want to know now what like Cream's other stuff is. What else they've put out. because this is just so thorough. What's up, KM? You know what, guys? Let's do this. I'm going to try to hold my spot here. How do I hold my spot? We are going to try to bring the gooseneck down a little bit so that we can see a little bit better. I know that the visual side of this live stream is a little bit rough, kind of no matter what, but let's see if we can go. Let's see if I'm right here. That'll cover us a little bit better. Great. Better? A little bit better? It's never going to be ideal, but we'll see if we can give you guys. So they're not going through these lookbooks like straight on. Or no, they do seem to be going through them straight on, yeah. It's just not including everything. So we're going by season, but they're leaving some things out. Yeah, the color palettes are, yeah, Fernando said Martin's color palettes are second to none. Yeah, he really played in a very subtle color palette. And the color palette itself felt like it kind of evokes the idea of vintage very effectively. It's a great little concept. Oh, Blade asked if I'm going to check out Raf's archive books on stream. I don't have any Raf books, actually. Where can I find this book? Great question, David. There are two for sale right now. One is 450 euros. The other is 500 euros. I don't own this book. This book was lent to me very generously by a fan of the Margiela series who was just like, hey, check it out. I found this at a used bookstore for $10. And I was like, holy what? And then I asked if I could please chip him, you know, like throw him 20 bucks and then pay for shipping both ways, and if I could borrow it. And he was incredibly sweet and said yes. Sharon just asked, have you read Martin's blurb on color? I haven't. Sharon, what is it? Could you type it in for everybody? Even if it takes a couple messages. Elizabeth, he left after the 2009 collection. He was there for 20 years. There's the legendary look right there. Epic. Oh, okay, so Martin's thing about color was it's a temperature, a feeling. Oh, there we go. It's a temperature, y'all. Color is a temperature. Legendary look right there. Yes. Horse girl shirt. Hello, it's too hot. How's it going? Interview with Mesa Martin Margiela. Time to read this. Cream asked, what is the structure of Margiela when it was founded? And they respond, Margiela was co-founded by Martin Margiela and Jenny Mearns in 1988 in Paris. At the very beginning, Jonathan just joined the Patreon. Hey, Franklin Dezelsweig is here. What's up, Franklin? Jonathan, thank you so much for joining the Patreon, my friend. Huge thanks. Jonathan is now part of the greatest fashion community on the internet. Congratulations, Jonathan. Let's see if I can move things on my computer over here a little bit so I can see things a little bit clearer. There we go. Everybody follow Jonathan's lead. Patreon.com/BlissFoster. Starting back up here, answering the question, what is the structure when it was founded? At the very beginning, the two of them already formed the whole company. Nowadays, the creative team is composed by 15 people. Jenny Mearns does not work any longer at Margiela since some time now. They asked, please name 3 keywords that can best describe the creative team. Tenacious, questioning, and we could hope creative. Is there any special meaning when Margiela chose a particular number for each collection? There is no particular significance in the numbers themselves. They were chosen at random. That is all that would fit on the label. Why did Margiela choose white as its signature color? Our choice of white as an expression of our team was a natural one taken in 1988. It was more emotional and less strategic than may be imagined. White means strength of fragility and the fragility of the passage of time, an expression of unity, purity, honesty. It is never just white, but more whites, all the shades possible. We usually use matte white, so the passage of time is evident. And yeah, it's really interesting because the way that they use white, the matte white is very important because it shows age. And like even with this book itself, you can see the white makes it where all of the aging marks are very evident on everything. When they would paint like their whole studio white and stuff, like people, like just the grease from people's fingers and stuff would leave markings on the white. And so the use of white is more of a thing about how things are able to show the life of the object on the object itself. Question. It has now been almost 20 years since Margiela's first establishment. Hey, Hafiz. Hafiz just joined the Patreon as well. Thank you, Hafiz. Dr. Hafiz joining us on the Patreon. I'm excited to get you guys in the Discord. I'll send out the info to link the two as soon as we finish up with the live stream. Really appreciate you guys. Patreon.com/BlissFoster. Do it up. It has now been 20 years since Margiela's first establishment. Is Margiela satisfied with what they have achieved now? Is there any watershed during those 20 years? They answered, looking back at the moments that are important, we would say, starting the company, each move of office, each introduction of a new group of garments. They set up what the garments are. And the structure of a company in 2002 when Lorenzo Diesel established a major shareholder. Our work with Hermes and the change in the structure of our company in 2002 when Mr. Rosso from Diesel entered as a major shareholder. Margiela has mentioned before in a magazine, the past is what bonds us, the future leads us. Do you consider the past as a burden? And they said, no. On the contrary, the past is an endless source of compelling ideas and creativity. Please state a sentence to conclude the last 20 years. 20 years have been a quick moment of passion, creativity, tenacity, and freedom. And they leave a little note down here that says, line 15, mail order does not exist now. Yeah, that would be a little tough to maintain in the modern world. And then the translation of that into Chinese. That's a beautiful shot. I haven't seen that one before. Yeah, there's a lot of pictures in here that I've never seen. Yeah, these masks are pretty sweet. Yeah, a lot of white pages again. And line 10, garments, fabrics, and accessories reworked by hand as garments for women and men. The reworking of clothes and objects as newly conceived garments and accessories has been a primary creative outlet for Margiela ever since its second collection for women, Autumn/Winter 1989. These items give, sorry guys, I am not the best out loud reader, unfortunately. That was killing me when I was getting my literature degree because it seemed like everyone else in the department was just like this like crisp, beautiful reader. And I was like, words are hard. These items, given that they are handmade, have always been referred to as our artisanal product. And for the past few years, line 0, the numbers 0 to 23 are printed on their label, which is either sewn into, embossed, or stamped onto the garment or accessory. The 0 on that label has been encircled to denote that they belong to this particular Margiela collection. Each garment or item is made or reworked totally by hand at the Maison's in-house atelier in Paris. The great amount of time dedicated to each piece, in some cases 3 to 4 days, and the scarcity of the vintage raw materials used requires that the total number of editions produced of each piece is extremely limited. Each piece is therefore entirely unique. Scissors. There's some examples. Yeah, someone just said, Bliss, you're really obsessed with Margiela, huh? Yep, that is correct. Oh, man, wait till we get to this shit in the Margiela series. Y'all will never have heard me scream "All Rise" as loudly as when I will say it with that piece. Wow, I've never seen that one before. That's beautiful. Dress made of artificial flowers. Helmet handbag. Man, that looks like something from the Fall/Winter '89 collection right there. The belt pieces. Legendary stuff. See you, Maja. Men's waistcoat made with hand-painted oil canvas. Let's see if we can do this. What's up? Sam just joined us. Sam, how you doing? Men's t-shirt made with hand-applied rolls of cotton jersey. Wild. I wish I was behind here doing yoga, Rasmus. Man, I am awful at yoga. Links cut away by hand from secondhand jackets and contrasting leathers are reworked into the structure of a vintage sheepskin coat from the 2008 collection. I don't know if I assume y'all are not able to read the little descriptions that are down at the bottom. I'm guessing. Yeah, so Johannes asked where to buy this book. So so this book is not really purchasable. I have this because someone very kindly lent it to me. There's 2 copies of this that are currently for sale online through specialty bookshops. One is 450 euros, the other is 500. It's the Cream edition of Margiela, the 20th anniversary Cream book. Cream spelled C-R-E-M-E. Yeah, this book is incredibly rare, very, very expensive. I only have it because someone very kindly lent it to me. I went in and bought one Margiela book, the Street Edition book, for $120 once. But yeah, that's about as high as I can afford to go with fashion books. And that's just some notes on the thing. Notes translated. Shoop. This is from artisanal exhibition at Galleria Carla Sozzani of Corso Como 10 in Milan in 2007. Looks like a little retrospective here. Another interview, folks. Cream asks, your choices of materials for making the garments in the artisanal collections are very interesting. Playing cards, summer sandals, metal bottle caps, etc. What kind of criteria do you use for selecting such materials? And they said, sometimes we find the materials and seek an idea. The material becomes the source of inspiration, and other times we have the initial idea and seek the materials in sufficient quantities to realize this. Most of the time, the rough material are garments or fabrics that are reworked to produce a brand new, sometimes twisted piece of clothing. They ask, can you briefly explain the creative process of such transformation from finding the materials to the completed garment? How long does it take for the transforming process to be completed? Since its beginning in 1989, Margiela has continued to find garments, accessories, used and sometimes new objects across the globe. That these garments and objects may be given a second life while respecting and maintaining the traces of the passage of time and use remains one of the keystones of creative process of the house. Each garment is reworked entirely by hand at the atelier of the house in Paris. The complexity and specificity of each step of the creative process of transformation will naturally limit the quantity of garments produced. The individuality of the materials used to create each garment ensures that each is as unique as that which was used to create it. The label numbered 0 for women and 0/10 for men is either sewn in, embossed, or stamped depending on the material used to create the garment or accessory. Cream asks, how many people are there in the creative team of artisanal collections? Do they work together for one specific garment? If yes, is there a specific approach that they use in communicating ideas? And they say, actually, 7 people are working in close collaboration, but sometimes it depends on the work schedule or the complexity of the pieces. They ask, how do you decide that a garment is completed? When we finally reach our initial idea. Finally, they ask, your artisanal collections have shown your respect for the past, and you have also explained that the past is an endless source of compelling ideas and creativity. Could you further explain why you have such a belief? Why do you think it is important to maintain the traces of the passage of time? And they say, the traces of the passage of time help us to continue to build while remembering that often it is better to replace than to simply add. We also use our archive on a constant basis, yet not as a milestone, but more a diary, a journal, a moment in time that we may be returning to bring forward in all its pertinence to today or tomorrow. Hey, Honest gave 550 euros. Thank you so much. Honest, you're awesome. Appreciate you, homie. And yeah, for anybody who like has to like tap out in the middle of this, if you're on the Patreon, you can just come back to this thing and watch the whole thing. Occasionally we'll go through books that are like currently for sale, and I don't keep those live streams. But for the most part, the live streams are all backlogged on the Patreon. Yeah, the other big decision that I'm going to have to make about this series is how to handle the men's collections. I will certainly not be skipping them, or there would be riots in the streets. But I need to figure out how to best cover those shows so that I can really kind of bring out what Martin intended for them. Hey, what up? New patron that is a series of letters. What's happening? Thank you so much, whoever that was. I really appreciate you joining. That means the world to me, y'all. It really does. Oh, nice. It's too hot. It's too hot. Now finally in the Patreon. Oh yeah, MM6. They describe MM6 as another and complementary vision to the Maison Margiela on femininity. Often, though not always, less conceptual, these garments draw their inspiration from and can lead themselves easily to day-to-day and the more casual moments of life. Available at existing Margiela outlets, as well as some independent stores, MM6 combines garments, shoes, and accessories. Fun fact, I was at a Margiela store recently, and they filled me in that the MM6 line is going to be dissolved soon, and that it will be replaced by just line 6, and that the diffusion line itself will soon just be absorbed into the main brand, which I think is an interesting move. These are mostly things from the MM6 line. Like a year and a half ago when I went to the flagship Margiela store in New York, I went next door to the MM6 store, and I actually liked what they had there better than at the mainline store. Mostly because the mainline store was trying to be like a installation art concept thing, and I just kind of wanted to see a Margiela store. And the MM6 stuff were these really cool flips on runway collection pieces from the early years of the house. So I really appreciated that. I think someone asked why are they getting rid of the MM6 line? I think it's just because the risk always with doing diffusion lines is that you devalue the brand at large. Oh my gosh, what is up? Junior just joined the Patreon, and Junior is a $9 tier patron. Junior, you are incredible. I really appreciate that. That's a huge deal. Yeah, obviously, everyone who's on the Patreon, it is hugely appreciated. You helped out this channel in a massive way, but those $9 patrons that represent 3 regular patrons, that means a ton to me. And huge shouts out, as always, to the $30 patrons and the people who give more than $30 a month. It's a huge deal. Nah, nobody's flexing on anybody. Because I know for a fact that there are some people that are on the Patreon and they live in countries where their currency is like in a temporary state of devaluement. And so like for them, like 3 USD is like, you know, it's like more than a Netflix subscription. So it always means a ton. All of the support always just means the absolute world to me. Because to be frank, y'all, I don't know if y'all watched the like celebrating the 50,000 subscribers video, but when I first started this channel and I released the first video and it was like still at like 32 views or something crazy. I was talking to my dad on my phone in a grocery store, and he was like, "Well, is this something that you could see becoming your career?" And I was like, "Man, that would be fantastic. I am not holding my breath." And then it turned out that this did get to become my career, which is just so wild. What is this? Not really sure what that's doing. More interview stuff. Do y'all want to read the other interview, or do you want us just to move on? We can keep pushing. Wow, Lane, that means a ton. Lane said, "I don't have Netflix, I don't pay for music, but I happily pay for Bliss's content." That really means a lot to me. I appreciate that, Lane. Well, Lane supports the Patreon, but is a music pirate, so I'm gonna just do what he says. All right, I'll read it, I got you. Cream said, "What is the fundamental philosophy of Margiela? How does it express through the design of the clothes?" They said, "A freedom that independence allows. Our way of being is less a philosophy than a way of protecting ourselves so that we may continue our work in a way that best represents our creative sensibilities. Since our founding in 1988, our team has always sought to find its own way in our industry, yet remain within it. It was clear from the beginning that if we were to continue our work over time, it would be necessary for us to find a way that could remain stimulating for us as well as continue to challenge our talents and push creative boundaries. Our stance is in no way a critique of the way other designers conduct their business or express their creativity. What became crystal clear for us at that stage and remains relevant to this very day is that we were and are content that the garments collection shows, shoes, accessories, exhibitions, and events we produce best represent us, and that we prefer not to base the communication of our work on an individual or the cult of personality or celebrity." Yeah, Martin, when he opened in his own words documentary, he said, "I always felt it was important for the brand to be associated with my name, but never associated with my face." And there's been references. I haven't heard any specifics as to this, and maybe someone knows a little bit more about Jean-Paul Gaultier's life that they can kind of fill me in on what this is referring to. But Martin was, according to Jean-Paul, the best assistant that Jean-Paul Gaultier ever had. He was incredibly capable and talented right from the very beginning, and Jean-Paul Gaultier was like, I'm scared that I can't teach you anything, I'm afraid. And Martin was like, "Well, it doesn't matter, I want to work for you." And so Martin worked with him and stuff, and I've heard references that say that Martin got to see firsthand what the cult of personality approach does within a brand at Jean-Paul Gaultier. And my understanding is that the two of those men deeply respected each other and did not have any kind of beef or anything, but that there was something, I guess, that was happening with Jean-Paul Gaultier that made it where the fact that he was such a celebrity designer became a complication at the brand. I've always wanted to look into that and figure out what that actually was. And I've always kind of had the question also of like, why did we not approach this like Vetements? Obviously, Dimna isn't anymore, but was like the head of Vetements, or one of 4 designers at Vetements. And Vetements as a word seems to kind of encapsulate what Margiela was doing as a brand. And I don't really know, like, why, if he was so insistent about the, this should be about the clothes and not about me or whatever, why is the brand called Maison Martin Margiela? That's been a question that I've kind of already had. Someone asked what this is. This is the Cream publication. It's the 20th anniversary Margiela book from Cream. It's an exceptionally rare book. I don't own this book. I was lent it by someone. Let's continue with the interview. Does Margiela think they are producing fashion, clothing, art, or something else? And they said, "We view it as firmly footed in the fashion side of the fence. Yet we are happy to learn of how our work touches others. It is not that we view our work in one way or that any other interpretation is not valid. Such an interpretation, in this case, that our work is closer to that of an artist, though welcome, remains entirely subjective. How would Margiela define their style? Our style? Well, from our point of view, our style is a freedom, a license taken with how a garment, form, or structure is perceived, an underlining of the individuality of dress and its link to the expression of self is, for us, also an integral part of our approach. How does Margiela see function in the clothes that they have designed? We are happy to make clothes in a way that stimulates us in a way that clearly stimulates others. We are happy to leave it at that. How does Margiela think about uniqueness? How do you achieve this in your creation? We always answer that you have to ask the others because they have more hindsight to describe our work in the fashion process and inside and other creative domains. We just can say that we belong to a creative researcher current more than a fashion following one. Wait, what? We just can say that we belong to a creative researcher current more than a fashion following one. Oh, I think maybe instead of current, they meant like mindset. It seems like there's some ESL issues here. Margiela was closely associated with the deconstructionist movement of fashion in the 1980s. What do you think about the association? When applied to clothing, the term deconstruction is another pigeonhole into which a view on the construction and structure of garments is placed. It is much more a feeling than a school of thought. As currently understood in fashion terminology, deconstruction may be considered as an expression of a feeling or fascination with the technical and structural expertise that forms a garment. This is usually expressed by allowing the internal structure of a garment to be visible, taking a liberty with what we call a finished garment and often referring to the role of a garment or fabric once used. Then they ask, recuperation and recycling seem to attract Margiela very much, is that correct? And they say, we have always enjoyed the challenge of reworking existing clothes, fabrics, and objects to create new garments and accessories. This challenge is linked to finding a new role and force for these materials, revisiting their structure and use. For us, it is not that garments are vintage in the sense that this word has now become. We use materials and garments from many sources and periods, many of them very ordinary. And they ask, we're getting to the end here of the interview. In the past years, Margiela has tried various alternative approaches in presenting show collections, such as using empty underground stations as show locations, allowing models to walk among the audience, using dummies instead of models, etc. Could you tell us what criteria do you use for deciding the presentation method for a show? After going through 20 years of presentations, what kind of change do you think you have gone through in your presentation approach? And what is the main purpose of a show presentation to Margiela nowadays? They said, as a team, we have always tried to vary our expression of the collection from season to season. Some seasons we have chosen a presentation, other seasons, more traditional show. We like to think more in terms of atmosphere than venue. The convention of venues, catwalks, and indeed fashion shows in general has changed greatly since our first shows. The mood of how a collection might be shown was changing. We needed and continue to need to be free to bring the clothes into an atmosphere truer to how we view the kind of life and spirit and that which stimulates us as a team. But true is that after so many seasons and shows, the originality or creative side of our shows can also be found in the music, in the hair, in the makeup or the casting or even in the styling, rather than the venue or the catwalk configuration. Shoop. And hey, big shouts out to NMM who just edited their pledge from $3 to $10. NMM, you are incredible. I truly appreciate that. That means a ton. Ugh. And yeah, I mean, so usually on these we focus on just kind of like bringing in new people. This is probably like way close up on my face, apologies. We usually focus on bringing in new people, but yeah, if anybody wants like a second shout out and wants to edit their pledge up, even, you don't even have to go from 3 to 10. You just went from like 3 to 6. That would be sick. Get a whole new shout out. Also, for anybody who does want to join, patreon.com/BlissFoster. It's especially useful if you can't catch this entire live stream and you want to watch it back. People on the Patreon get to watch back the entire live stream. It's pretty cool. Oh my gosh. Okay, somebody just said fashion is cool and all, but I'm big into crypto right now. congrats to you on the latest big bump that we had yesterday with that. We had a big old bump for Bitcoin, which I personally am not like ultra invested in. I have a little bit in Bitcoin, but it is not a lot, and I did not get it before the first big jump, so I did not become a crypto millionaire, unfortunately. But my brother is mega into crypto, specifically Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? Have y'all noticed on YouTube generally that there are like a ton of crypto spam bots everywhere now? So I'm obviously monitor my comments and stuff, but there have been a bunch of Alaco or Alaxco. I don't know how to say your name, unfortunately, but I realize that you were joking, but like there really have been a ton of like bots that like have commented on my videos and been like, this is great and you are very expressive, but right now I am very focused on cryptocurrencies and the wealth building assets that they bring. And then like like that comment will happen, and then like immediately there's 5 comments below it being like, wow, tell me more about cryptocurrencies. It's like, cryptocurrencies are better than gold. They build wealth. Like, which is like, I agree with that stuff, but this is like clearly a bot, and I don't understand why this is and like all the like profile pictures of those accounts are like old, like grumpy conservative looking people. And I don't understand like what those are for, but yeah. Specifically, Dogecoin, which began as a joke, has become a viable option for those who want to build wealth. So funny. Oh man, the legendary the binders, baby. This is for research purposes, this is the most valuable stuff in existence. This is the source at the Atelier. Margiela still has all of these original, or Margiela the man still has a lot of these personally, and the actual Atelier in Paris has a bunch of these notebooks as well. These this is what he goes through and like opens up and pulls things from the boxes and the folders for in his own words. That's what he's going through. Hello, Elliot. How are you? Yo, Restroyer. Restroyer just edited their pledge from $3 to $9. Restroyer, you are excellent. I truly appreciate that. That means a ton to me. Man, RIP MF Doom for real. I have listened to MF Doom's full albums, but MF Doom's voice is like very close to my heart because he has a feature spot on one of my favorite albums of all time, Demon Days. RIP MF Doom, and conceptual RIP to Daft Punk. Even though Larry Fitzmaurice tweeted out this thing, Larry Fitzmaurice was one of the founding dudes at the publication Pitchfork. He was like, I don't believe for a second that Daft Punk is actually broken up forever. They have a whole history of very dubious PR stunts, and I think that this is them rekindling hype around the Daft Punk name so that they can go on a huge world tour in like a couple of years. He was like, anyone who is actually real life sad, which was me, your boy was real life sad. He was like, anybody who's actually sad about this should hold on to hope. All right, y'all seem to still want to be doing these interviews, so we're going to do it. The 4th interview. Where was the first Margiela office located? How was that? And also, for anybody who is just kind of like, oh, hey, Finlay has like an interesting little thought here. This isn't actually the real book. This is a fake. The real doesn't have spelling errors. Ooh. Finlay, that is a interesting theory. I certainly don't know what the hey, Mateo just tipped me $1 or €1 really, which is more than $1. Thank you, Mateo. I appreciate that, homie. Dang, Finlay, I'd love for you to elaborate on that. Do you have the original, Finlay? That it just seems okay. So Finlay, the only thing that makes me doubt what you're saying is that projects like this are like, why would you create a bootleg of it? Like bootlegs, the whole nature of bootlegs is that you're recreating something that would be valuable to sell yourself. Like people make bootlegs, so like bootlegs for like Balmain jeans, like biker jeans or whatever. That makes sense because like tons of guys out there who don't even know who Balmain is are like, oh, those jeans are cool. I would love to buy those jeans. Okay. And so they like buy them and they're like fake important goods or whatever. But for things that are as like niche as this, like it seems unlikely that someone would want to bootleg that, you know? Because it's like, what would be the benefit of bootlegging it other than to get it to the people, which would be great. If they bootlegged it for that reason, I'm all for it. Damn, Robin, I'm sorry to hear that. Jeez, that sucks. Remember that all of your feelings are valid. All of your feelings are right. Don't run away from them. Running away from your feelings is not very healthy. If you don't meditate, you should try meditating today. Damn. I'm really sorry, Robin. That sucks. Okay, let's read. Where was the first Margiela office located? How was that? That's some keen interviewing there. How was that? The 18th arrondissement in Paris, near that place. My French is horrible. For context, the arrondissements of Paris. If Paris is a big circle, the first arrondissement is it 0 or 1? Is anybody here French? Is there a 0 arrondissement? Anyway, the either 0 or 1 arrondissement is like where the Eiffel Tower is. It's like the very center of Paris, and I don't think anyone lives there. I think living in the first arrondissement is not even really possible. There might be one apartment complex or something that is gajillions of dollars, but that. And then basically it sort of acts like a concentric circle. But basically the higher the arrondissement, the farther out from the center of Paris you go, and you get like closer out to the suburbs. I think it goes up, French people help me out here, like it goes up to like 25 or something, 25th arrondissement. So 18th arrondissement is very far out. Most luxury houses that we're also showing during Paris Fashion Week are like in the 3rd or the 4th arrondissement, but Margiela shows to be way out in the 18th because that's what they could afford. The 18th arrondissement in Paris, not far from that place. The quartier is one of mixed immigrant cultures combining peoples from Africa, Arab countries, China, Vietnam, Japan, and of course, France. Our showroom had 4 floors at the front and one very large depot workshop, 4 floors high at the back. It was originally used by the RATP to repair electric motors. If anyone knows what the RATP is. Could someone explain about the getting of this book while I continue to read for Tommy, please? Our showroom had 4 floors at the, Moving into this space allowed us for the first time to incorporate our workshop for the production of the artisanal collection with the rest of the company. We also very much liked the spirit of the space. How did Margiela find this school premise and revamp it into the present office building? After our stay at the Rue Fambauge, Poissonnière, I don't know how to say that, in the 9th arrondissement and simultaneously at 2 other locations scattered across the north of Paris, we have finally found a new home at 163 That Street, on the corner of That Street and the 11th arrondissement. We feel very fortunate to have found such a great and large building in the city that is so well adaptive to our creative needs. Our new home of 300 meters dates from the 18th century and for nearly 100 years was a convent of the Sisters of Charity. The convent functioned primarily as an orphanage and was the precursor of today's L'Hospital des Enfants Trouve. My French is so horrible. In 1939, a certain Mr. André Pueble an industry engineer and arts collector, took over the building to found a school of industrial design named the EPDI. The school was very much a personal project for him. Our building was one of 3 Parisian locations that made up a college, which had provided education and training to 2,000 students at the time. The vast majority of France's top industrial draftsmen and artists were alumni. One of its former students went on to design the world famous Jetan cigarette packet. As stimulation to the creativity of his students, he filled his place of learning with paintings and artifacts, many of museum quality, all of whom have now been removed to form part of the public and private collections across the world. Wow, what a flex, damn. In 1994, the school bade farewell to its last students and fell dormant for a period of 10 full years. For a few of these years, a Mr. Robert Basilaire, landscape gardener and a friend of the Puebla family, rented a few of its classrooms for activities. We felt immediately at home on our first visit and were astonished to find most of its classrooms exactly as they were the last day they were vacated. Summer exam papers lay on the desks, pens and inkwells and lessons on blackboards, all weighted down by a thick layer of dust. It was certainly time that the building live again. For 4 months prior to our occupying the school, we adopted the same approach to its restoration that we have had with all locations of our offices and shops. Great care was taken that our use of white as an expression of our work and team has been incorporated with the history and original character of the school. Its walls still show the traces of the passage of time and students. Blackboards and rostrums are still in place, and our refectory is exactly where some of the students used to eat. A large schoolyard serves as the main artery of the life of the building. On the ground level, at the back of this yard, the glass brick roof atelier that once housed the machine tools for the students now houses our atelier for the transformation of existing garments for lines 0 and 0/10, our artisanal collections for women and men. The 6 floors of extremely well-lit classrooms are now home to the design studios and rooms of our 80-persons team. We are very happy to bring a lot of life and bustle back within the walls of this place that has been for too long empty. And they ask, Margiela stores are never located in hot shopping spots. What are the criteria for the location of Margiela stores then? Following the tradition of all of our locations in the world, the situation of each shop leans more towards discreet than evident. They all vary in relation to their geographic location. We certainly hope that they can continue to reflect the culture within which they exist. That is an interesting point, and I haven't been to enough Margiela stores to be able to say whether or not that is true now. Has anyone been to some of the more like low-key Margiela stores? Because what I would hope is that they would keep it. That's interesting, and I've never heard anything about that before, that they all vary in their geographic location. We hope that they can continue to reflect the culture within which they exist. And I would think that, especially since Martin left, the brand in their continuous like revamps and stuff, my guess is that all those stores, while they probably all look unique and everything, that they probably are more reflective of the Margiela core brand rather than a reflection of like the culture that they are in. If anybody's been to one and has any thoughts on that, I would love to hear it. Like, such as, for example, hang on, let me just Google real quick this so that I wonder if there are even, because like I know that like after, so when I left Helmut Lang because the shop I worked at closed down, flagship store locations. Okay, I don't need a stockist list, I need a list of locations. Boutiques, here we go. I know that when I left Helmut Lang because my store in Atlanta closed down, they were starting a process of closing down just about every Helmut Lang in the world. There's now 2 Helmut Langs that still exist. I believe one is in Tokyo and the other one is maybe in New York or LA, I forget. But there's only 2 in the whole world right now. And when I was there was like 18 in the world, and they shuttered almost all of them, which is pretty crazy. All right, my computer is not wanting to load. So I think we're going to just pass on that for now. But it seems like there would be a lot of Margiela location, like the London one, maybe not a lot of opportunities to represent culture in London because it is such a cosmopolitan place, kind of the same thing with New York. But like for like South American locations, obviously there are lots of cosmopolitan places in South America, but everybody knows about that, right? The frozen jewelry that would like melt onto your garment and your skin and stuff. The fragile shoes. Lizzie Lowe the God has those. Helmut Lang, in my mind, someone asked, like, what do we think about Helmut Lang these days? Also, here's the ongoing reminder that oh my gosh, Rick just said, I just found out that you're straight. I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. Great fashion content though. Story of my life, man. It has been a long-standing assumption of just about every person who's met me that I am gay. And no, I've given a lot of thought, but I am not. A collection of accessories for women and men. Okay, the 11 collection description. We have for years had a small seasonal collection of leather goods as part of each Maison Martin collection. With this line, our accessories for men and women are grouped within one collection. Structure. 11 comprises the traditional categories of items for an accessories collection: bags, belts, small leather goods, and a few items of jewelry. The collection comprises equal parts for men and for women. Dang, what were we just talking about? Helmut Lang. I don't know. Helmut Lang is I think it's pretty cool still, but I don't know. Not really sure. Okay, overview of the Margiela lines for women. 22, a collection of shoes. Techniques and materials and stuff. The shoes. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Helmut Lang is nowhere near what the brand was when Helmut was there. Yeah, they can't recreate the magic of Helmut actually being there. But I mean, for a brand that can't be the way that it was, I think it could be a whole lot worse, is what I'll say. And honestly, like the follow-ups that Helmut did were, after they left, were not terrible. Like when I worked there, Alexander Plakov was the head of menswear, and Cazione Deli, who I think a lot of people in the stream may not know. Cazione Deli was known for making this like revolutionary new cut of jeans for women in the 90s. And she, I think, doesn't have to work in fashion. I think she might just be pretty independently wealthy. But they brought her on for like 5 or 6 seasons. And the women's wear that she made there was beautiful, y'all. Like that stuff was great. There was one time where OG Mako, who of Bitch You Guessed It fame, he was like our regular at the Atlanta store, and he would come through, and the stuff that he would always pick up was women's stuff, because he was like, wait, which side of the store is women's? And I was like, the side you're on. And he was like, this shit isn't women's if I wear it. And he like took it and he bought this like huge like super long mink vest that like went down to his knees, and he was like, this thing is incredible. And I was like, that is honestly maybe the coolest item that we have in the whole store. And he was like, I'm copping this right now, let's go. Fortunately, I got a fit pick off in that piece before he bought it. I was very pleased about that. The 5th interview, Cream. How does Margiela usually work out a collection each season? I can't see the quality of the pages. Is it good? Yeah, Mateo, it's pretty good. I mean, they're printing on they're printing on just okay paper. Obviously, that's kind of the nature of this whole thing, is that we're printing a lot. And so they can't just make it like this gorgeously bound thing. This is like the same kind of paper that you would print like pulp books on, like pulp sci-fi stuff on. So it's not the best that it could be, but this is still It's still great. How does Margiela usually work out a collection each season? How do you come up with the theme for the presentation? Margiela is the artistic director of our house, and he works in harmony with the whole style team, their creativity, their talents, and the all-day life they have. What is most crucial in deciding a theme? Very gradually as we go along, our creative work is an ongoing process that requires constant searching, adding, and subtracting. We tend not to work in a thematic manner as many fashion designers can. We rarely start with a blank page at the beginning of any one season. Yes, Jean Galliano is still at Margiela. That's correct. Does Margiela have any contradiction during the creative process? What is it, and how do you handle it? Hang on, my face itches. Oh, that's so much better. Okay. And they respond. Making garments and a collection is a collaborative process. The jettisoning on an idea along the way can be viewed solely as compromise, but it may be left aside for a more fundamental reason, that it wasn't going to work. It had been worth trying, but it wasn't going to work. Whoop, those pages were stuck together. What does Margiela find most challenging during the creative process? To challenge our talents and push our creative horizons daily. We are a group that shares its passion of garments, designs, and fashion. How much daily life inspire Margiela's aesthetics and creativity? Our main inspiration always has been the extremities and changes of daily life. Our work is solely a proposition to wear what it is we like to create, a presentation of a way in which we see things at a given moment. We can see that you have put a lot of emphasis on the design of the shoulder structure in the Spring-Summer Women's Wear Collection 2008. Could you further explain it? Our collection for Spring-Summer 2008 is a further evolution on the graphic architectural approach to a feminine silhouette developed over the past 3 seasons. The exaggerated shoulders of the silhouette are defined further and even wider. Wow, that is a brilliant question asking for specifics, and that is a great answer. I need to make a note of that later for the 2008 collection, even though we're a long way off from that. How does Margiela achieve breakthrough for the future when they start creating a new collection? Now, quote, future, end quote, seems more to be a source of instability and anguish for many. We are more global in our appreciation of our world and lives, and so benefit less from the glorious isolationism that allows for such free thinking in the past. Conservatism, political, theological, artistic, and vestimentary, I have never seen that word before, vestimentary, is an easier crutch. We are more comforted by nostalgia than the embracing of our future. The known is more comforting than the unknown. Clothing and fashion are for us mere expressions of tools of comfort and pacification. Wow, that's a crazy answer. What up, Kill? Kill in the cut. Kill's back. Some people say there's always pain in any kind of creative process. Does Margiela agree? Maybe, but luckily, also joy and satisfaction for a good result. One of the more iconic men's looks ever. And a naked guy. This guy is the person that I most associate with Margiela men's collections. This guy is, I kind of think of him in my head as the Margiela man. Him, and then there's one other model that I very much think of as encapsulating the Margiela aesthetic. Damn, are we looking at James Franco right now? I am terrible with faces. Is that James Franco? That would be crazy if that was James Franco. I don't think that is James Franco. No, that vaguely looks like him. That is not James Franco. More blank pages. Y'all know that James Franco was the producer and he was in the Gucci documentary about the CD that they had before Alessandro? 13 is the number encircled on the Maison Martin Margiela labels that corresponds with publications and objects that are produced on an ad ad hoc basis and have in the past included books published on the Margiela's collections, objects, and household effects produced in white and exclusively available at Maison Martin Margiela shops. Here are some of those objects. Damn, without even without even me leading it there, like Virgil becomes a topic on like every single live stream discussion. People love talking about Virgil. For a while, I like participated in that too. And then after like 3 or 4 live streams, I was like, I don't think I want to turn this into like the Virgil Abloh, the Virgil Abloh podcast. And so we, at least from the part of these things that are permanent, I decided to move off of it. The AIDS t-shirt, which they continue to give to an AIDS foundation in France. All the AIDS t-shirts. All right, I'm gonna get a sip of this, and then this live stream is brought to you by La Croix. La Croix, quench your thirst with La Croix. La Croix, please sponsor me. Cream, what was the motivation of creating the nonprofit Making AIDS t-shirts? It was an opportunity to express our support to the AIDS Foundation in a different way. When did the AIDS t-shirt first launch? This t-shirt has been presented in all of the last Margiela collections and has been produced in different colors each season. It's first appeared in Autumn-Winter 1994. Autumn-Winter 1994, by the way, is one of the most important Margiela collections ever. This was kind of the start of everything. Obviously, this was like, what, 10, 11 collections in? But this is, yeah, crucially important. There's a ton of stuff that the house still keeps to today that they began back then. When most t-shirts carry a slogan, their message may be, quote, there is more action to be done to fight AIDS than to wear this t-shirt, but it's a good start. That's what's on all the AIDS t-shirts. This is what's printed on the AIDS t-shirt. What do you think about using t-shirt to voice out a message to the public? When most t-shirts carry a slogan, their message may be read from a distance. Dialogue is not necessary. When this t-shirt is worn, it is no longer possible for others to read the text printed on it. Most of the text is on the inside and at the back of the V neckline. A dialogue on HIV and AIDS is then encouraged once another asks the wearer to explain what is written on their t-shirt. That is a crucially important point. It's a great little design solution. Regarding the public response, did Margiela have any expectation on the AIDS t-shirt at the very beginning? We hoped that it would be successful so it would generate as much money as possible. Could you explain the design detail of the AIDS t-shirt? The t-shirt is manufactured to a specific pattern designed by Margiela. The text is wood-blocked on its front panel on top of the V neckline as the t-shirt is folded so that when it is unfolded, the print appears in different parts of the t-shirt. How do you decide the colors for each new AIDS t-shirt? Randomly. How many AIDS t-shirt has Margiela created since its first launch? 28. What do you think the AIDS t-shirt means in the fashion industry? A question best asked the fashion industry. How does Margiela see this t-shirt? A recurrence in our history. That's it for that one. Very straightforward answers. Again, the translation into Chinese. OG pictures, let's go. Okay, now most of these pictures we have seen before. Most of these pictures are available in other books. we've seen a few exclusive pictures in this book so far, but most of these ones that we're looking at now are ones that we can see elsewhere. New interview. How would Margiela define the word fashion? What is fashion for? And what is the best thing about fashion? An individual's reaction to a series of propositions, a climate of cultural and aesthetic change, and their assimilation of this to their taste, spirit, and way of life. It is also a pigeonhole that people continue to insist on defining. 3 exclamation marks. What do you think the role of fashion is in daily life? The perfect marriage of function, comfort, and design, and a garment that blends perfectly with the spirit and style of the wearer rather than disguising or obscuring them. Man, my face is really itchy. Sorry, folks. When Margiela first established, what did you think the public thought fashion was? And what do you think their opinion on fashion is now? At the beginning of our house, we dedicated a lot of energy in the translation of the freedom to reinterpret clothing that we had learned and earned up to that point. We sought to allow others the freedom we felt in opening our eyes very wide to the materials one could use to make clothes, materials such as plastic, china, vintage garments, materials, and accessories. The way garments could be combined to make their outfits, traditionally or high-tailored jackets worn with aprons over trousers, etc., as well as the way that those collections could be presented at a show or presentation. In a certain and small way, breaking a convention of garments and dressing. Then, since now we derive a great stimulation from the fact that this is clearly stimulating others to open their eyes in a similar way. How important do you think identity is in regard to the individual person and a fashion brand? For a fashion brand, it is important to gain its own identity, to have the possibility for a smoother work, hopefully recognized by the market audience. What is it about your clothing which you think has made it so appealing to the fashion world? Always push boundaries of imagination beyond any trend could have appealed to some others than ourselves. What is success to Margiela? Success is when you feel comfortable with yourself, but this is true to everybody. More white pages. 10, the collection for men. Each label carries the numbers 0 through 23. A circle around the number identifies the group of the collection from which a garment comes from. In this instant, for men, it is the number 10 that is circled. The overall context. 10 should be seen as a wardrobe consisting of garments which have different functions, yet each of which should be given a similar value and importance. Traditional jackets are proposed to be worn with jeans or cotton trousers and a t-shirt or sweater other than a classic suit or with a shirt. Every garment has been received the same attention to detail, whether it be traditional jacket or a jeans jacket. All the lined garments have traditional interior details such as 3 different types of lining at the arm, gussets, and labels giving special care instructions particular to that garment. Hey, what up? Honest just tipped me $5.50. Appreciate you, dog. Said, will you at some point in time want to talk about the relations between architecture and fashion? I came to fashion because of it, enjoying the show. I appreciate you, Honest. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not closed off to doing that at all. My only issue is that I know so little about architecture. But obviously there are many fashion designers who have said that they think of the work that they do as being architectural in its nature and everything. There's definitely a lot of correlation there. I just know so little about it. All of the things I know about architecture are when, like, you know, in the recent Rick episode when he said that he was directly inspired by Bauhaus architecture, I then had to go look into Bauhaus architecture and kind of walk those connections out for everybody. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not opposed to it. I would love to do that. Coats, gabans, jackets, waistcoats, and jean jackets all have real horn buttons. That, I just learned, the horn button thing was something that he brought to Hermes. Hermes apparently had, this is great. Hermes apparently was known before Martin came in for doing bejeweled buttons. They would have these buttons that had jewels inlaid into them, which was apparently a nightmare process to try to create from their factory's perspective. And also just was a expensive thing to do because they were jewels in buttons. And Martin was like, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. And they were like, but how will everyone know that it's Hermes?
And he was like, I don't know, but we're not going to do this jewel button thing anymore. I think that's going to go away. And he came back and was like, all right, I've decided that this is all going to be a certain kind of wood. I forget what kind of wood, either wood or horn. And his solution to the how will people know that it's Hermes if that we don't have these buttons was he said the holes on the buttons, the little tiny like holes that the string gets like that where you can tie the string to the actual garment itself. There's going to be 6 of those, and we're going to use those 6 strings to form a letter H. So there will be a letter H that's sewn into each of the buttons, and that is how people will know that it is by Hermes. And the Hermes CEO freaked out when he told him that and was like, that is such a better idea than the inlaid jewels. I love that. And that's just one of many things that Margiela turned over at Hermes. Such a cool idea. All right, let me flip on the light real quick because it's getting a little bit dark, and then we're going to finish this book up. And then we're going to talk for a little bit if y'all want to. Let's fucking go. Hey, folks, patreon.com/blissfoster. Join the greatest fashion community on earth. And to everybody that did just join, you're going to be getting your links to join the Discord here in just a little bit. That suit is yours, sir. Big ol' important collection right there. Man, back in like 2013, I would literally like go to work, come home, and just spend like hours looking at these exact Margiela pictures on the internet. I was so obsessed. Still am so obsessed. And now I have an outlet for that obsession, which feels nice. See how the tie is sewn into the waistcoat itself? All right. I think the blank pages in the book are, Jonathan asked what's the thought process behind the blank pages. I think the idea there is so that they can, so that each owner of the book can take notes or make art or something, so that each issue of it is unique. Now, one thing that we don't know that's just occurred to me is that I'm not sure if the Maison was the one that said put the blank pages in, or if Cream was the one that put the blank pages in. That might have just been a way for Cream to kind of like give a nod to the making everything, like painting everything white that the Maison actually did. So we don't know if that's their choice or Martin's.
Gosh, these looks are so cool. Y'all be thinking of questions for the closeout time, like for the period where we're just kind of like talking, because we're almost at the end of the book here. Y'all be thinking of some questions. Hey, contributors. Graphic designers. Previous projects have included work with Belgian and British fashion designers. Ooh, there's one for Hussein Chalayan, as well as the film shop, local channel 4, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is just kind of like a credit section, it looks like. Marina Faust, shouts out Marina Faust. She's one of the photographers that made the Maison's documentation what it is. Jonathan Frantini. Villalobos, Miguel Villalobos. It's another, yeah, these are the photographers that kind of helped to record the Maison and make it what it is. And a lot of blank pages. Yep, blank all the way until the very end. That's it. That's the book. That is it. Hang on. Let's get this facing back up. And then we can turn this camera around. All right. Sweet. And so sometime soon we can go through and check out the reprint of the Maison Martin Margiela, a magazine curated by, and kind of go through that together. We can take a look at, oh wait, no, I said that we weren't going to do that, and we aren't going to do it because it is currently for sale, and you should go buy it because it is just $35. This book, on the other hand, like I said a few different times, this is like a 450, 500 euro book. I don't own this. Someone very kindly lent it to me, which was incredible of them. They apparently found it for $10 at a used bookstore. One person on here asserted that it might be fake. I'm kind of doubtful about that. Maybe it's fake. I don't really know. And I don't particularly care because all of the stuff is in there. So fake or no, that is quite a treasure. So if you're watching right now, J-Man, I really appreciate you. It means an enormous amount that you would lend that to me. All right, so we can just do like general discussion time for a little bit. And if you want to shout out for joining the Patreon, you should join it now. We got a few minutes left here. Patreon.com/BlissFoster. Join it up. Thoughts on Priya Ahuwala? I don't know Priya Ahuwala. I'm not sure about that one. Ugh. Oh yeah, okay, so Elizabeth said, have you ever thought about starting a podcast? I have, and a lot of people have recommended that I do that. I don't really know what the format of the podcast would actually be. I'm not really into the current events side of fashion. I don't find that stuff very compelling, and that seems to be the most natural like way to approach a podcast is to be like, this is stuff that's happening in fashion this week. I'm gonna like give commentary and talk about it. I feel like that space is very thoroughly occupied already. Luke, who runs Haute La Mode, Luke has an incredible podcast about that. And it's him and one other guy whose name I forget because I'm just terrible with names. But I mean, like Corporate Lunch does that. They're great at that. I just don't know what, because my whole thing about making content, my biggest thing is that I want to be respectful of y'all's time. And if I'm putting something out, whether that's a video or a podcast or doing a live stream or whatever, I don't want to waste your time, because if you guys choose to turn on one of my videos and you're going to give that video 20 minutes of your time, that's pretty sacred. That's pretty important. In 2021, you deciding that you're going to give another person 20 minutes of your time, and that person is someone that you've never met before, like that's a very big deal, and I want to be respectful of it. So if I'm putting out new content, I want that content to be deserving of you honoring me with your time. So I'm not opposed to doing a podcast. I would just need to kind of figure out what exactly it is that I would want to do with that podcast. If you have any suggestions, I'm open to hearing them. Bliss, have you and the benefactor, I guess the guy that lent me that book that we just looked through, considered making a digital copy of that? Here's the problem with that. So I had not asked him that question, and I don't know, maybe he'd be open to it. But for a book that's like this, where the binding is like that, that would require us to literally like open the book so much that we're flattening it and then doing copy. Well, no, wait, actually, we couldn't do it like that. The only way to photocopy this book would be to tear it up, to like break it apart. I've done that with some of my Margiela books because I've just needed some of those images for the Margiela series. And so at a certain point, I was just kind of like, I don't know, Bliss, do you want to make the series or do you want to have a nice book? Like, we got to rip it up. And so like, I've torn some of my Margiela books up. I'm planning on tearing some other ones up. I'm going to make a video about like reviewing all of the Margiela books. And so I'm going to wait to tear some of mine up until I've filmed that. But for a book like this, in order to scan this in, we would literally have to not rip out, but we would have to like break the binding on the spine and pull all of the pages out individually. Because even if we were to open this up, like if this is closed, if we were to open the book all the way up like that, trying to put that under a scanner, too much light would be coming in from the outside. And so it would scan it and it would look really sloppy and awful and stuff. So literally the only way to scan this is to go page by page on a photocopier and to like scan it like that. And so I imagine that the generous benefactor that lent this to me would not be willing to do that. That would be cool, and I'd do it for free for him, but no. I'm not on Clubhouse. We kind of talked about this a little bit last week. My ultimate goal always is to create extremely high quality YouTube content. And Clubhouse, to be honest, sounds like a huge bucket of fun. But I am already I run and moderate my own Discord server, which is large. There's a lot of people on it. It's very active all day long. I moderate that. I run an Instagram. I run a Twitter. We do events on Instagram and Twitter. I'm making content for the channel. I do my own video editing. And what was the other thing that I do? What was the other thing that I was going to say? Oh, and at this point, I have talked to at least 4,000 of you on Instagram DMs. Hey, what up? Lewis tipped me. Lewis, you're a G. I appreciate you. Thank you. At this point, I've probably talked somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 of you on Instagram DMs, and I think of that as a pretty important part of my job. One, because you're all a cool bunch of people. I really have I really think of it as being that I have the best audience on YouTube. You're all very smart, compelling, cool people, and I like hearing your thoughts. But yeah, most of that's just me shooting the shit about fashion with people, and that takes up a good bit of time as well. And I don't see a way to fit Clubhouse into that right now. And also, a big part of why I started structuring these live streams around let's look through books together and stuff is because I'm not fantastic at impromptu speaking. So I don't know. I feel like if it was in a heated discussion kind of situation where it's 3 people and it's talk about the history of Helmut Lang, go. I don't thrive in discussions like that so much. I really enjoy listening to people, and clearly, as the channel kind of suggests, I like monologuing. but that monologuing off the top of my head is not always the best. So I don't know. Clubhouse right now does not fit into what my goals are, but it's a huge bunch of fun. Clubhouse is awesome. Nothing wrong with it. Oh, Pod, you missed the book. You can rewatch. It'll be available here in just a moment. You can rewatch the live stream that contains the book. It's the 600-page Margiela book. It's the rarest, the single rarest Margiela book. It's 600 pages long. You can rewatch it if you're on the Patreon. It'll be posted on the Patreon here in just a little bit. Wait, so Devin said, are there any designers who are too small or do not have enough work to make it into a video? And if so, how are they? What? Devin, I'm not sure I understand your question, homie. Yeah, Hannes. Hannes said I would love the same kind of session for Raf Simons redo. Yeah, me too. I do not have $500 to spend on that book. So if we wanted to, if someone who owns it wanted to like send it to me and I could like do a session with that, I would also love to do that. Because that's another one where it's like it came out and it's out and we just, I mean, it's like if you don't already have it and you don't want to spend, I think I know someone who paid $1,000 for it one time. Like that's an insane amount of money for a book. That is an enormous quantity of money. But yeah, if someone wants to figure out a way for me to get a copy of Reduct, and then, yeah, I would love to do it on a live stream. That would be sick. Folks, time is running out. Patreon.com/BlissFoster. Go join it up. Kill, I don't understand your question. Let's see, let me scroll up a little bit, see if we have any other questions up here. Let's see, Kill said, you know how when you do shows on your story and we like DM you references and stuff? Oh yeah, so we're gonna start doing those on a bi-monthly basis. These are the group analysis ones. We did one for Balenciaga first, and then we did one for Vetmall, and then we did one for Rick Owens' Gethsemane show. I think for now, we're gonna be doing those every other month. So starting in 2 weeks, we're gonna start another one, which is gonna be sick. Yeah, I'm really excited about those. Those group analysis shows have ended up being very, very fun. Oh, damn, we got 2 people at once. David, thank you so much for joining the Patreon. You are a G. That means a ton to me. Thank you so much. And Sebastian. Sebastian, you have the coolest name ever. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon. You also are a G. That really does mean a lot to me, y'all. I appreciate it. Group analysis, who is next? Here's my thing. I think we need to do Jacquemus. Here's the reason. Jacquemus is redefining luxury for a new generation. I don't really think the idea of luxury made a lot of sense for like millennial and Gen Z women until Jacquemus kind of redefined it a little bit. And also Jacquemus's work is very rich in references. It is a lot of stuff. So I think What's your favorite fashion book that you have and would recommend to everyone? I don't know. The fashion books that I really like are ones that have information in them. I like pretty pictures as much as the next person, but to be frank, I can get pretty pictures just here. So I mean, having a hardbound book, it like there is a bit of a euphoric feeling of like, oh my gosh, I have the book. But yeah, Gods and Kings, that's a huge one. Kill, you just started reading Gods and Kings, right? Gods and Kings is far and away the best fashion book that I have ever read by anybody. Dana Thomas is a blessing in fashion writing. Gods and Kings doesn't really have many pictures in it. It is a nonfiction book, but that's about the lives of Alexander McQueen and John Galliano, ending in McQueen's suicide and Galliano being fired from Dior for being rightfully fired from Dior. That book goes into extraordinary detail. Dana Thomas used to be a journalist, and you can really, really tell that her research chops are second to none. I mean, I wish there were 30 books by Dana Thomas that I could read. She also has a book called How Luxury Lost Its Luster, and that was how Bernard Arnault kind of evolved the luxury sector from what it was to what it is now, and how everything changed from being about quality to being about concept. And she doesn't make many judgment statements about that, but you can tell that, you know, some things have been lost in the evolution to, yeah, some things have been lost, but, you know, it's good. Dana Thomas is a blessing. Gods and Kings is great. I've really enjoyed the Met Gala Comme des Garçons book. That one is another fashion book that is outstanding, has a lot of extremely good information because Andrew Bolton is just the GOAT. Andrew Bolton is great. And speaking of that, by the way, Andrew Bolton's husband, Tom Brown, is the episode that is coming out tomorrow. I cannot wait to do that. That one's really, well, can't wait. I can't wait to release it. It's really good. Everybody on the Patreon already has it. So if you want to watch that early, and if you want to support fashion journalism, get on the motherfucking Patreon at patreon.com/blissfoster. Other fashion books I really like, the Margiela 20th anniversary it's called Margiela Women's Collections book. That one is cheap. It's like under $40 most of the time you can find it. And it's rich. I mean, it might as well be a book that's just show notes, basically, for every single Margiela collection. The entire Margiela series is basically only able to happen because I have that book. The amount of information in that book is insane. And then right now I'm reading very heavily, and as soon as we end this, I'm going to be back to reading the Margiela Hermes Years book. That one is another one that is very, very heavy on the analysis side of things. The essays that are written in that are by Kat Debo, who was the curator at the Antwerp Museum for the Margiela Hermes retrospective. Kat Debo is brilliant. She's really good. There's a category. Hannes just asked, where can I find the unreleased videos on Patreon? There's a category called Patreon exclusive that you can search the posts by. And yeah, you'll get it through that. But if you want to go into the back, yeah, I mean, obviously you'll be notified when there's new videos out, but if you want to go in the back one, there's a tag called Patreon exclusive that I think I've tagged everything in. I am a one-man team, so I may have missed some stuff. So there's a lot of posts on Patreon. There's not an insane number of posts, so it may be worth it just to scroll back through that and see what all you can find. Other than that, good fashion books. I have another video coming out about other fashion books that I really love. That'll be the one that releases, I think, a week from tomorrow. And that one I just had to wait on my sponsor to come through on that video. It's kind of a sponsorship, sort of. Audible that's a video that's done with Audible, which is cool because no real compromise there, because I fucking love Audible. I use Audible I'm constantly listening to Audible. And there's a lot of really, really, really good fashion books on Audible. And I read incredibly slowly. And so listening to them gets the books done at about the same pace as if I was just like sitting here reading them myself. And a lot of them have really good readers. Like the Chiffon Trenches, oh my gosh. if you want to read the Chiffon Trenches and you don't do the audiobook, you're missing like half of what makes, not half of what makes it good. A huge bonus for the excellent book that is the Chiffon Trenches is the fact that Andre Leon Talley reads it himself. And I mean, the book is super well written. I mean, no surprise, Andre Leon Talley is a lifelong professional writer. But I usually, when authors read their own book, it's hit or miss. All audiobooks have a director, and that director, I don't know why I put air quotes over that, they just are the director. The project gets a director, and it's like being the director of a film. You're overseeing the full like creative direction of the project. And usually that director is pretty good at talking authors through like, this is kind of how you need to read, this is how you need to emphasize, like we need to have water on hand for you so that you're not like drying out your mouth or whatever. But Andre is good at reading. You can tell it was not something where he was just getting coached into it last minute, as a lot of other books in that same category are, where you can kind of tell that it's like, this author is clearly not great at reading their own work. Andre brings that book to life, and it is wonderful. And there's a lot of like funny things in there that if I was just reading it in front of me, I don't know if I would have picked up on the kind of like subtle humor that he has sometimes. But if you hear it in his voice, I mean, there are parts of it that are like a stand-up comedy routine. He's like nailing it, and it is so funny. He is a great reader of his own book. And the Chiffon Trenches was such a great book. I really enjoyed that one. It was awesome. Oh yeah, Elizabeth said, I listened to The War of Art on Audible. Yeah, The War of Art is another one. I mean, for anybody who does anything creative in your life at all, if you pursue anything creatively, you basically have to read The War of Art. It's not about fashion specifically, but it will be the most enriching book to your work process that you will ever find. And you really do need to read you need to get it through, you need to get the audiobook. Whether or not you use Audible, I guess I don't particularly care like who you use for that, but like War, W-A-R, War of Art. It's by Stephen Pressfield. It's like a play on the art of war. The War of Art is his book. So in The War of Art, he is basically outlining like, this is what gets in the way of you leading a successful, fulfilling, creative life, and this is how you fix it. It is not a like conceptual, like feel good kind of thing. It is mostly Stephen Pressfield kind of kicking your ass a little bit, and you need to hear it in Stephen's voice, because he's actually another author that is exceptionally good at reading his own work. And he has this very like grizzled voice. He's kind of an old guy, and him saying this stuff to you, you can feel the conviction, and it is it's an incredibly short book. It's like less than 3 hours for the full audiobook. It will be 3 hours of goosebumps. It's brilliant. Stephen like was apparently like, and I mean, he was like, I think he was an alcoholic, and like he almost ruined his life kind of. And he has now determined that the reason that he was in such a bad shape for a really long time, he was like, all of this was mostly due to the fact that I was afraid of embracing what I was born to do, and that was write books. And when I figured it out, and I figured out how to get past all the things that were keeping me from doing what I meant to do, it was like the most fulfilling thing that he ever did in his life. So I found that book to be enormously helpful for me personally, and I recommend it to literally everybody. But yeah, again, the audiobook really is very necessary. It's excellent. The regular book or the audiobook you could knock out in a day or two. So, Nicole has a really good question. Something I've never understood is, why do designers make their books limited edition or rare? Surely they want to show their work and story off. That is very true. I think most of that comes down to the fact that it is very expensive to make fashion books, because every designer, I mean, it's their job. They're micromanagers. Excuse me. Fashion designers have to be micromanagers in order to be successful at what they do. And so they don't want to just release a book, they want to release a beautiful book. And so it's got to be hardcover, and the pages have to be very high quality and very thick and all this stuff. And we have to do like the most full, vibrant color possible. And I think that's the big thing that weighs it down, is that it's just expensive to make it. And so they have a certain amount of budget, they have a certain amount of money to make the book, and the publisher has a certain amount of money that they're willing to chip in or whatever. And when that money is gone, it's just kind of gone. And I think fashion designers also in general kind of are very attached to the idea of things selling out. And so they make the book and they make it available, and they figure, we're only, I mean, like the reason Raf Simons Redux is so rare and valuable is because I think at the time there wasn't this huge cultural obsession with Raf that there is now. And so it was one of those things where it's like, why would we make more of this? We're making a gargantuan tome of a book. There's only going to be so many people that want this. Turns out there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people who want that. So anyway. All right, y'all. Yeah, Devin already said it, just the cost of printing books. All right, folks, I love you a lot. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me, showing up. Thank you so much to everybody that joined the Patreon. Anybody that kind of felt weird about getting a shout out or anything. Oh yeah, the merch. Yeah, I just need to be able to set aside time to actually like finish this stuff up. Merch is definitely coming, and my goal, y'all, my goal is to make it where the merch is something that you would actually want to wear. I have no interest in designing a collection. This is not going to be any kind of like cohesive, like fashion kind of thing. But my goal is that I don't want to just make I would like to make stuff that you actually would want to have so that you can use it. So we'll have, there'll be like t-shirts in there and stuff. And I'm actually rather excited about the direction those are going in. The t-shirts are actually gonna be really funny. But yeah, my idea is to make stuff that you'd actually want to have and own and wear and rock and stuff. So yeah, y'all's support means a whole lot to me. It really does. I know that as a creator, that's kind of something that I'm obligated to say, but damn, NMM just they edited their pledge earlier in the stream, and they just edited their pledge from $10 to $20 a month. That means an enormous amount to me. That means a ton. Thank you so much. As a creator, I think it's kind of something where I'm kind of obligated to say thank you and to say that your support means a lot to me and stuff, but it really is hard for me to describe how unlikely I thought all of this would be. I have never been able to maintain a creative project of any kind I'm 31. For most of my life, I have wanted to take on large-scale creative projects and do like big stuff, and never really been able to make that happen. And then when I started this project, I found something that I could really pour my whole being into and really stay committed to. And very early on, there was kind of always this nagging thought in the back of my head that this will kind of always just be a pet project, and that I'll never get more than a few hundred people interested in it. And y'all have really proven that to be wrong. And it means a whole lot. This channel has really, I feel very strongly that this is what I am meant to do. And it's literally not possible if it's not for you guys. So it means a lot to me. Thank you. I will talk to y'all later.